Welcome back to Kingsport, Tennessee. You're looking live inside of the Meadowview Marriott Conference Resort and Convention Center at halftime. The Cumberland Phoenix leading Tennessee Wesleyan Bulldogs 35-33 at halftime when Matt and I have an opportunity to interview the founder of the show, Coach Ken French. Coach, the 10th annual The Show. This is the last game of 30 teams. 30 games is a lot. What's your thoughts?
It's a lot. Outside of how we played, I was kind of disappointed in how my team played. But phenomenal event, just like it always has been. I think it keeps getting bigger and better. And I want to give a shout out to you guys. I think you guys have added to it. The streaming this year has been the best it's ever been in the 10 years. And there's been a lot of quality games. And you get to see a lot of not just quality programs, but top-notch coaches and some premier teams in NAIA basketball this weekend. I'm exhausted. I know you guys are tired. You guys have called every game, and it's one of those things where you're like, man, we're crazy for doing this. But then when it's all said and done, you get a chance to reflect on it. What an awesome weekend.
It'd be almost like we're ready to go again next weekend, right, Coach?
That's right.
Everything feels so good about this tournament, and I got a chance to talk to a lot of the coaches before the game, and every single one of them, I asked this question of, have you guys been here before? Is it your first time? A couple teams are here for the first time.
Yeah.
A lot of repeats are here, but everyone has said, this is the perfect tournament for exposure and a chance to show what we have, and that's what has happened this year especially. All these games have all been competitive. There's been a couple runs that have been, you look at the scoreboard and you're like, oh, it was a blowout, but if you watch the game, it was down to the wire.
I think there's a lot of teams that were here that are established and they know who they are right now. And then you've got a group of us who are still working to find our identity as a team. But every team that was here, they played hard. Every team that was here, competed and worked on what they need to work on. It'll be interesting to see how some of these teams progress throughout the season as they get into conference play, because we haven't played a conference game yet.
Right.
But then you look, there's some other leagues like the Appalachian, they've already played like 4 or 5, it's crazy. But I think it's great because I'm a voter. I'm on a selection committee. We had other voters here, numerous voters. We all got to put eyes on some really, really good teams.
Yeah.
And I'm not being disrespectful to anybody else, but, me personally, I thought Georgetown, Northwestern, and Freed were, by far the 3 best teams here. And there's some others close. Don't get me wrong.
No, absolutely.
But those 3 they're top 5 teams in the country.
There's an argument that they should move up, especially after this. You could argue that Georgetown should be the number 1 team in the country.
Maybe I'm telling on myself and stuff, but the last top 25 poll, they had 1 vote for being number 1 in the country. That was me. I'm not changing my vote after this weekend. So, I think it's important. But you look, University of Cumberland's, they're a very good basketball team. They went 0-2 this weekend. But that 0-2, they learned a lot about their team. Coach Daniel does a phenomenal job. But you know what? Everybody got to see they're still a really good team. Even though they went 0-2, they played 2 really good teams.
Right.
And Coach, we've seen some great individual performances. Like you had J.J. Vaughn with 7 threes. Dalen Dean come the game after that had 8 made threes. Bradley Bunch for the U-Pike Bears had 30 points and 10 rebounds. We also seen some great games. You talked about the Cumberlands. Matt and I had the call of the Cumberlands and Ave Maria 105-103 regulation game as well. Yeah. And the game before that, we had the IU Kokomo Campbellsville 61-59 ball game where Campbellsville hit a big shot, then Kokomo immediately responds there. This lived up to the building, Coach.
I appreciate that, and that's what it's about. You're going to have your handful of games that maybe are the outlier, and it ends up, you look at the score and it looks like a blowout or whatever. But, for the most part, most of the games were competitive. But really interesting that we didn't have like an overtime or double overtime game or anything like that, because we've had that in the past. And usually the way that works, it's the first game Saturday morning. And then the whole schedule gets, messed up. But
the longest day of the show, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, we're gonna tweak some things, and I've already talked to some of the women's coaches on their side and everything. I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. Next year it's going to be men only. We've got a waiting list on the men's side, and it's been harder and harder to get women's teams to participate in it. But because we have such a great response of teams that want to come here on the men's side, we're going to do men only next year, and the Saturday probably won't be as long as what it was this year, because we're only going to have 20 to 24 teams, and everybody can get out of here a little bit earlier and go eat dinner in Kingsport and visit Kingsport,
right?
Pun intended, and just have a shorter night on Saturday and still play 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Can I make one request? Can I get 15 minutes in between games? That's my one request, Coach.
And that's the other thing that we're looking at. If we do that, if we went 20 men's teams, okay, I don't think it's going to take away from the event at all.
No.
But I think if you go 20 men's teams, 2 hours, but game times and stuff, you can do media timeout. We can still add to what we're doing.
Right.
Hey, Coach, something I've had opportunities like Matt. I've had an opportunity to talk to several different coaches throughout this week, and had a great interview with Coach Chris Briggs from Georgetown today. And he really talked. And several coaches have replicated this same statement. They love this event because you're playing top quality teams, and you're playing back-to-back days that replicates a national tournament field.
Absolutely, you get to see how your kids do with a one-day preparation and not really having a shoot around or a practice, or you're limited in what you're able to do in preparation for that next game, and it does replicate that, and it gives you an opportunity to test your kids, to test your coaching staff on a quick turnaround, and on paper as the director, if everybody went 1-1, that would be the perfect showcase. But it doesn't happen every year. Some teams go 0-2, some teams go 2-0. But I'll be honest, you find out a lot about your team while you're here this weekend.
The coaches that I've talked to, they talked about magnifying areas of needs. I don't want to say deficiencies anymore. Magnifies areas of needs. When you play better teams, those areas of needs are magnified even more. And it makes your kids, even though as coaches, you're telling these guys, hey, we need to be working on this. And you play these top quality competitions, that gets magnified real quick.
Well, ours got magnified today. So I agree with that 100%. It's one of those things where, hey, whether it's transition D or on the ball D, or especially this weekend, there was so many big, skilled big men that played in the show, that you find out how you are going against a really good big, and maybe you got to make adjustments and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of areas that you get tested on, and you look. You guys noticed this, I'm sure. How many styles of play did you see?
So many.
And everybody's successful in doing what they do.
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways to do this and play this game and be successful.
The one other thing I want to add, I want to steal all these questions here, man. I'm sorry. I love having the founder here, and I love that having this. This has been a great event. We've seen style of plays on paper that come in, people trying to average a lot of points per ball game. When Matt and I had the IU Kokomo, when they had a Campbellsville ball game yesterday, both those teams won play in the 80s. As a 61-59 ball game, they had to make a transition within the ball game. Matt called it on the play-by-play, and he talked about how these teams were valuing each and every possession, just getting like a national tournament field.
And that's what happens when you have good matchups. Every possession becomes important. And sometimes in the non-conference part of your schedule, you don't get tested like that, but you will here.
That's
and
true.
You'll either get exposed, or you figure it out and your guys respond to it. There's a lot of teams that have used this as a springboard to the rest of their season throughout the years, and I think there'll be a couple of teams. And when I say that, you could have gone 0-2, and you can correct things, and your kids got to see other teams play, and you get to point out, hey, look at their culture, look how they do things, look how they, and it helps because everybody you got to see here, well-coached teams and guys that played hard.
Did you have? You've been around the both floors the entire day, every day. You haven't really left this area, and then you had your own games, everything. Have you had a favorite game that you got to sit back and watch?
You know, not really. Our game against Union, obviously, we were playing in it. I thought that was a good game. But there's been so many good games, and you know, you see people. It's funny because you'll see people sit back here in the back by the wall, and where they can watch both courts. You know, and you see, hey, there's 2 minutes left. This is a 4-point game. They watch over here, and then they look over there, and hey, we're under a minute to play, and the score is tied or whatever. You know, so it's interesting. You can see a lot of final results at the buzzer, and see that's another thing is how people handle situations.
Right. You
know, down 3 or down up 4. Do you foul the foul or play scenario and that kind of thing? You get to see all that. And you get to if you're a basketball junkie, it's just like the old NAIA tournament. You can come here and watch a lot of games, and you can see a lot of good basketball.
I also want to make one more compliment, man. This is my last
one more for you.
So after. I want to compliment on the officiating. I thought they've done an excellent job all weekend long. Great job communicating with the coaches and the players. A very professional crew all weekend long, Coach.
They did a good job. Bo Borowski is our supervisor of officials for the River States Conference, and he gets all the officials for this event, and I thought they did a good job. You know, it's not easy. And most of the crews did 4 games. They did like 1, then 2 yesterday and 1 today. Some did 1 yesterday, 2 today, whatever it may have been. But they doubled up too and got a lot out of this. And I think, as an official, the better the teams are, the easier it is to call the game.
I heard some rumblings. I'm going to transition a little bit from basketball, but could we see you potentially helping create this event for another sport like volleyball? I heard some rumblings that with the volleyball team helping out today. Is there a chance we see the show volleyball version?
Yeah, there could be. We made that. We kind of connected the dots today, and let's just say that's in the works. I won't have anything to do with it, but I will be the one who made the connection, so it could happen. Yeah.
I was talking to Walt. We said if there's anything that you will have involvement with is if they need some help, I would imagine your players will step up and be a part of it.
It's a good. We have a great relationship with our women's volleyball team and our men's volleyball team. We have men's volleyball. This is the first year we've had it at Oakland City, but our men's program gets along with them, and our coaches' staffs work together, and that's what it's all about.
Right.
You know, and trying to create a great student-athlete environment and support one another.
Well, Coach, you do a great job here. This is my first opportunity to be involved in this. This is something I will remember for a long time, and hope I'll be able to come back.
Oh, I hope you guys are back next year, and we don't have any internet issues in the first day and a half. But that for 10 years that hasn't changed. It's kind of been an ongoing saga with us. But hopefully it'll all get ironed out. Obviously it did. I think the rest of the day yesterday and today's have gone smoothly. So I hope you guys are back, and we look forward to being here for the 11th year next year. And I think it'll be even better than what it was this year.
Appreciate you, Coach. Coach Ken French of the Oakland City Mighty Oaks, and also the co-founder of the show. And as we're on about a minute here, what's your impressions of the first half here, Coach?
Both teams are playing hard. It's the last game. Weird things always happen in the last game. You know what I mean?
Every time.
And you got a 35-33 game, but both teams are playing hard. And I haven't seen the stats. I don't know. Both teams look like they turned it over a little bit. Maybe didn't shoot it as well as what they wanted to. But they're playing hard. And if you watch these two teams, I think they're both trying to find their identity of who they are. And I think that leads to the turnovers and the missed shots. But the most impressive thing for Cumberland and Tennessee Wesleyan, they play hard. And if you just do that, you give yourself a chance.
I think you got a career in this if you want to go and be an analyst after you're done with your coaching career, Coach.
This is not my first rodeo. You know how it is.
I say we can add one more thing to your duties here at the show, Coach.
I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, Coach. Safe travel going back to Oakland City as well.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming up here, Coach. Appreciate it.
Coach,
everything you did for us here, it's been a pleasure.
French. He does such a great job here. 35-33 at half. Real quick, as far as team statistically, in that first